Conversations That Matter is a partner program of the Center for Dialogue at Simon Fraser University. The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you.
SheEO. Explain it. What exactly is SheEO?
Sure. SheEO is an organization that's set up, which I hope will go to business very soon.
Go out of business.
Go out of business really soon.
Hang on, isn't that antithetical to what
well,
you're promoting?
I'm here to solve the problem, which is I think that women have been dramatically underfinanced, undersupported, and undercelebrated for decades, basically, as entrepreneurs.
How come?
There's a bunch of different reasons. So on the underfinanced side, about 4% of venture capital goes to women, and it really
4%.
hasn't changed. Hasn't really changed for 40 years. 20 years, 40 years. So that's been an epic sort of problem that will just not go away. And less than 5% of female entrepreneurs have mentors. Another huge challenge. Mm-hmm. If you have a mentor, you have a 50% greater chance of being in business 3 years after you start. Mm-hmm. And so if only 5% have mentors, it's really challenging. And then in the media, well, thank you for today. Women are in the media today because of this, but it's really challenging to be recognized as a female entrepreneur. And I think part of it, if you sort of look underneath it, is that we are absolutely obsessed with go big or go home, winner takes all kinds of businesses. So unless you build something huge that goes public, it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't get on the cover of a magazine.
But isn't that the challenge that all small entrepreneurs have, the go big or go home? Like I'm a small entrepreneur, and I know how challenging it is. Nobody pays attention to me.
But 98% of our economy is small and medium-sized business. Mm-hmm. So we have a narrative that the only thing that matters are big businesses. But that's not really what makes up our economy and drives this country. Mm-hmm. It's small businesses. Yeah. And so we have to really shift that narrative, I think. That's one of the challenges that we're facing, is like, how do we do that? And then the other piece is, how do we start shifting the mindset about this go big? Because going big and focusing on that mindset has created a world where 85 people have the same wealth as 3.5 billion people on the planet. I don't think we need any more of that. That's a huge problem. Mm-hmm. So, and there's lots of money out there. So that's not the issue. It's finding the amazing entrepreneurs with great ideas. That's the scarcity, not the money. But the way that we tell all of our stories, like Dragon's Den, for example, it's all about the person with the money is the power, and the person who has the idea doesn't. I want to see the world flipped around, because the person with the great idea that's going to create a better future for all of us is the one that we should be putting our money towards.
So what are you doing then to help make that happen?
Well, we sort of stepped back and looked at how could we change that. And one of the things that's emerged in the last few years is crowdfunding. Mm-hmm. And women are 4 times as likely to be financed on a crowdfunding platform. So we sort of took the idea of crowdfunding, and then another big challenge for women is building up networks. Mm-hmm. There's the old boys network that we talk about all the time, but how can we get women helping women and supporting women in positions of power to get where they want to go and get their first customers and to grow their businesses? So I kind of combined all these sort of challenges and created a mashup new idea. Nothing's really new about what we've done, but together it's a new thing. So we've created this call for radical generosity. That's the first radical generosity for women to help women grow their business. So 1,000 women are coming together from across Canada with $1,000 each. They don't get a tax receipt. They don't get any receipt. They don't get their money back. There's no return. It's radical generosity. So
it's not an investment.
It's not an investment. It's thank you very much, and here's $1,000 to change the world. Let's go and help women grow their businesses. We want to create a new model. So this $1 million pool of capital will then be divided up amongst 10 ventures that we all select. So we have a back-end technology where the 1,000 women will go in and they will rank and review all of the applications to get it down to a pool of 10. And then those 10 ventures will sit in a room and they'll decide how to divide up the money themselves. Not us. We're not deciding how to divide it up. It goes over to them. And the 2 parameters they have is you can't give it all to one venture and you can't divide it up evenly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, really different. Because the way that we do things now is winner takes all. Yeah. Right? You have $1 million pool, here's the winner, yay, go winner. Yeah. But in venture capital, we have a success rate of 1 out of 10. So we looked at this and said, why don't we just turn it over to the ventures themselves? And people that are experts in this space will say, well, that's crazy. What do they know about investing money? But there's a lot of information out there and a lot of data showing that peer-based decision-making is actually more effective than expert decision-making. We're seeing a lot of that these days. And what happens is they all come in with how much money they want, and they go line by line through their budget. And then they sort of push back on each other. Well, why do you need money for that? Or, oh, you don't need that. I've got it. I'll share it with you. Or I know someone who can give you a discount on that. And so this collaboration ensues. Plus, they get to know each other's businesses really well.
So you've done it twice before.
We've done it with a smaller group of people, just picking 10 ventures and having 10 women each contribute $5,000. So it was a smaller pool, and we were experimenting with the model to see how it worked.
And what were the
There we go.
results?
It's just really fascinating. We started with groups that were at very, very early stage, so almost idea stage, and young entrepreneurs in particular to start. And so as we went through it, we tried to decide, where's the market opportunity? And everyone's really obsessed with venture capital. Like, you have to get financing before you start a business. But if you look at it into the marketplace, last year, 2/3 of businesses in Canada were started by women.
2/3.
2/3. 68% of them had no outside capital, and 73% are already profitable. So I kind of thought, if you look at this sea of businesses that are out there, getting to profitability really quickly, super capital efficient, if they had a little bit of an investment, plus a network. Imagine being one of the 10 companies, you have 1,000 women now helping you to grow your business. It's incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine what that'd be like as an entrepreneur. So having that, so taking our networks, our buying power, because we make 80% of purchasing decisions, plus the money. So the money isn't actually the big deal. What's really big is that the 1,000 women are committing to 1 year of opening up their networks, their buying power, and their expertise to share with these businesses to grow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What a mentor pool that is.
Crazy mentor pool. And I think, the other thing is too, a lot of mentor programs focus on, you have a mentor for a year, you meet them every week, they have a certain skill set, you get along, you don't get along, you're in and out. My experience as an entrepreneur is that you need different things at different times. Sometimes you don't talk to your mentor for 3 months, and then you have a total catastrophe, and it's like all hands on deck to solve whatever the problem is.
So what do women bring to the entrepreneurial equation that's different than their male counterparts?
Well, practicality, I think, would be one. And one of the things that we're obsessed with right now is unicorns. I don't know if you've heard this term, but it's companies that get to $1 billion of valuation very quickly. And so everyone's chasing unicorns. And I kind of think, that is, it's like a giant casino.
Yeah.
We throw a bunch of money at things and we kind of hope it wins. But there's so much money thrown at crazy ideas that are not really going to work. The vast majority of the businesses I see are people who see something, the women that are starting them, they're meaningful, and they get to profitability quickly, and then they get stuck. So that's a real challenge. And so I feel like women
get stuck because they run up against financial barriers?
They run up against financial barriers. And I mean, the other thing is too, if you're sitting there writing the checks these days, you want outsized returns, because there's this story that maybe there's a unicorn out there and you want to get that kind of a return. But those returns are crazy. A friend of mine out of DC said that if you take the top 20 performing companies from Silicon Valley in the last 20 years, venture capital doesn't perform better than municipal bonds.
Really?
So if you really get underneath it, but I mean, we all want those outsized, crazy, impossible returns. That's the kind of thing that we chase. Well, the other businesses aren't sexy, right? You've got 5 people and $5 million in revenue, and I'm not so interested. You get a 5 to 8% return. But that's a great return in today's market. And that fits better, I think, with women's risk profile.
You know as well as I do, when you're a small business, you go to the banks and they go, well, we'll lend you money so long as you put your house up against that. You go to somebody and say, well, will you invest in this? Because as you point out, no, it's not going to give you the astronomical returns that they're looking for. I applaud you for this idea, but as we sort of move forward, there's still the challenges of running a small business.
Yep.
Do women bring a skill set to actually running a small business that go beyond just the practicality that you mentioned, that sets them in the right kind of mindset to be able to run small businesses? And I'm not sort of diminishing the fact that you can go to the top and have those great returns, but to get through that process, that long, slow build, takes a certain kind of something. What do women bring to that equation?
Well, I don't know that it's a specific gender thing. I do notice that women often are running their households.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're buying what they can afford. They keep the family in check, right?
Yeah.
We live in a society that doesn't really value that. We're out there buying things that are way beyond, like, oh, we're in debt, no problem, just add some more debt, add some more debt. I think that I personally am less comfortable with that kind of a role. I've taken a company public. I've had venture capital. I've had angel investment. I've had every kind of financing there is. But the thing I most prefer is bootstrapping and being able to control my destiny. And I think a lot of the reasons why we run the kinds of businesses we do is because we have a lot of other challenges in the world and things that we have to take care of. We have families. We have elderly parents sometimes. It often falls upon us to manage that. And if you look at what's happening in corporate Canada and corporate America, women are dropping out in droves. because the workplace is just, you have to be on all the time, and it's really hard to have a life. And if you look at the millennials that are coming along, they don't want to participate in that kind of a world. They want to do good, make money, and have a life. And a lot of people are like, these millennials are crazy, what's going on with them? But this is actually an indicator, I think, that we're all kind of fed up with the model that we have in front of us, and we really need to create a better way. We're exhausted, we're stressed, we're working too hard. And so when I am mentoring young women, the first questions I always get are, how did you build your network? How do you deal with fear? How did you build your confidence? And how do you create a balanced life? Guys never ask me these questions. I'm sure they have these questions. I know they have these questions, but women ask me these questions all the time. These are really top of mind.
How do you answer those questions?
Well, I said we need new approaches. I've done things on my own. I've designed businesses that work for me. I still blow myself out and work way too hard. But over the years, I've realized that I can define success on my own terms. Like I took a company public because that was success and I wanted to be successful, but it wasn't actually the right thing for me.
So I'm just going to have to get you to hang on for just
of
one
course,
second here while we take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Conversations That Matter is a partner program of the Center for Dialogue at Simon Fraser University. The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you.
But your confidence is built now on experience.
Yeah.
These people are saying, well, I don't have that experience. I read a very interesting article a few weeks ago by a woman who was asked that question by a young woman in an audience, and she said, well, my parents gave it to me or helped me get there. And she realized it was a trite answer, and it didn't do this young woman a service in saying, here's how you build confidence. And a big part of it is that you work really hard. You try and you fail and you take chances. And how do you help somebody address that and deal with the issue around fear? Because, as you say, that's a question that you're being asked.
Yeah,
what's your answer?
The first thing for me around all of these is, what do you want? I mean, a lot of people haven't done the work of figuring out who they are and what they want to create. They're following someone else's outside voice of what they're supposed to do. But what do you want? Do you want a life of cranking it and building a $100 million company? Great. We'll help you figure that out. Do you want a lifestyle business? And do you want to be able to go home at 5 o'clock? Okay. But what happens in a lot of our business incubators and schools is we assume everybody wants to scale. And then there's this pressure around you that that's the only way to build a business. And there are millions of ways to build businesses. You can do all kinds of different things. So our phrase is really on your own terms. You build businesses on your own terms, which starts with, who are you? What do you want?
So are you running a workshop that helps them do
We're building
this?
an education and training company that'll launch in early 2016. And we've been running workshops and working out the bugs on some of the approaches that we're taking. I mean, we have a really different perspective than the rest of the world. We really think that there's just an endless amount of money out there to support the kinds of businesses that will create a better world. There's a lot. So, I know that sounds kind of crazy. I think there's abundance out there. In 2008, when the market crashed, we found $13 trillion in 3 weeks to bail out the banks.
Yes.
That number is crazy, and most people don't, what does that mean? But $13 trillion is 600 years on the planet without poverty. We found that in 3 weeks. The money's there. We're just putting it towards things which aren't actually helping us create a better world.
So in the development of a business and the work that you're doing, I think of the work that Susan Colantuno has done in her, that's outlined in her book, No Ceilings, No Walls. And she talks about some of the aspects that, in Min's kind of development, those who are, working their way up the management chain to the executive office. And she points out the fact that these men, and I guess the women who also, but in smaller numbers who are going there as well, have a more practical sense of the business. So how important is that in you being able to help budding entrepreneurs understand how you grow a business?
Yeah, I think there are basics to figure out, absolutely. And I think you have to do the work to understand the basics of business. But these things are really easy to figure out these days. You can Google almost anything. How to X, right? There's everything out there. So, but I do think there's a bit of a demystification around some of the language. We use a lot of jargon that feels challenging, and maybe I don't really understand what that is. All this stuff underneath it is really simple. So that's one of the things we're working on with our workshops. It's just like, get rid of the jargon. And let's just really explain. There's a loan, you get money, you pay it back, there's an interest rate. It's not that hard. But when you talk about debt financing and all this, like, people are like, what is that? So we try and demystify that, because it's a challenge. The way that we teach a lot of this stuff is learn all these crazy big words, and then, you know, the words stop you from walking in the door as you don't learn the concepts. The concepts are actually very simple. It's just a matter of changing it.
Unfortunately, I got to get you to just hang on for a moment or two while we take one more break right now. We'll be right back.
Conversations That Matter is a partner program of the Center for Dialogue at Simon Fraser University. The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you.
Some of the hardest things for me in starting my business, because I started from scratch, you know, using my credit card as financing, because nobody would lend me any money. They're going, you want to do what? Forget it. You're not, like, it's not going to work. We're okay. I don't know how to negotiate a lease. I don't know how to hire people. I don't know how to create terms of employment or engagement. And oh my gosh, the tax man and all these things. I knew how to make video, and that was it.
Right.
How important is it that you help to share that information around being able to run the business as a whole?
Yeah, so the way that we talk about this in our programming, and the way that I've learned to be great at this, is I just got really good at asking for help. That's how I built my network. So that thing,
that
right?
thing, yes.
So I'm masterful at X. I'm very good at connecting people. I'm good at creating programming, at strategy, at business development, and I'm absolutely terrible at finance. I mean, I understand it, but I don't want to do anything detail-oriented with finance, whatever. I have a network of people who help with that.
And I think that's where the big fear comes from. Like, how do I ask? And maybe that's one of the benefits that you bring by creating this community of.
We create a very safe place for you to ask the questions that you're afraid to ask in other places. And so that's a big part of it, right? So safe environment, and then get good at asking for help. So the worst advice I would ever give is that you have to learn all this stuff. You don't have to learn all this stuff. You have to understand it, and then find people who are masters at it and build your team that way. You can't, there's 7 billion people in the world. You can't spend all your time working on stuff that you're never going to be good at. You need to find the people to support that and work in your mastery to get better and better at what you're good at.
So where are we at as far as the number of people that you have contributed so far? What are the next steps? And ultimately, let's get to, how does somebody who says, what about me? How do I get involved?
Sure. So you can go to our website at SheEO.world. It's SheEO .world. And we have a running tally of how many people are in from where across the country. And our applications are open until August 31st for ventures to apply for the 10. And then our activators, which are the 1,000 women, we hope to have that sort of done by late September.
Wow. So you're moving along.
We're moving along. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to launch something like this in the summer, but we are getting a lot of interest and a lot of excitement from across the country. And our goal is to announce the 10 selected ventures in the first week of November, and then their program starts, and then they divide up the money and figure things out. And then our next year, what we plan on doing is rolling this out city by city, and we want to get to 1,000 cities, 1,000 women, $1,000 each by 2020.
Final break, promise. We'll be right back.
Conversations That Matter is a partner program of the Center for Dialogue at Simon Fraser University. The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you.
So 1,000 women in Vancouver, 1,000 in Toronto, 1,000 in Montreal, Chicago, Mumbai. We've had people from all over the world reaching out saying they love the model and they'd like to do it in their city. So we'll be going to at least 10 cities next year.
Okay, that's going against your, like, you don't have to go big.
Well, so here's the thing.
That's going big, that's going global.
Yeah, well, I want to build something that's highly impactful. And so for me, the thing is, how could I wanted to design something that was small, that was local, that was intimate, that fit with the culture that women are comfortable with, and then connect those places together. So this is what technology has enabled us to do, which is really exciting. So imagine being in Vancouver and wanting to start exporting your product to Chicago. You can now plug into 1,000 women in Chicago who are radically generous and want to support you. And then you want to go to Mumbai, and there are people in Mumbai. All these cities will be connected together. Still feels small and local and supportive, but it's also connected to wherever you want to go.
So you're expanding this network.
We want to expand this network to at least 1 million women by 2020. So that's $1 billion a year going into the hands of women as 0% interest loans that help them grow their business.
And this will continue on.
This will continue. Who knows where it's going to go? We have a couple of sponsors for this program that are helping cover the administration, and they said their favorite part of this is the ... It's an idea with a big vision, and then who knows where it goes.
And how'd the idea come to you to do this? Like, I know that you said people were coming to you asking you questions, but where'd the genesis for this come from?
So a bunch of different things. When I had a venture fund in 2000, the first 400 applications that came to me, only 3 were from women. And at that point in 2000, I thought, oh my God, I finally have money to contribute to entrepreneurs who I love and I want to support, and we're only going to invest in guys. Like, what?
Yeah.
How do we find these women? And so since then, I've been really thinking about this. I've been building different interventions along the way, trying to get underneath it. But I was also running businesses at the time. And so after my last business in Silicon Valley, I sort of stepped back and thought, I could do another 5 businesses in the next 20 years, and this problem keeps gnawing at me. Like, I really think that we need to redesign the world. When I look at the world, out the window, it feels like everything's broken. And then I flip that into what a great time to be alive. You know, if you're a creator, maker, or entrepreneur, this is your nirvana. There's so many things to fix. And I would love to see more women at the table designing World 2.0, because I think we need it.
So let's say I'm a young woman at home and I've got an idea, but I think it's probably not valid, or it's not gonna make it. What do you do to encourage anybody to step forward and say, consider me?
So for the first round of this, we have a bar of $50,000 in revenue. So you apply if you have 50K in revenue and beyond.
So you're already in business.
You're already in business. You've got some customers, and you could really use the support of a network. And so if you're at 50,000 in revenue, please apply. Very simple, 10 questions. It's not your typical. The first question is, who are you? And so we want to get a sense of who you are as a leader and what your values are and what you're interested in. If you have less than $50,000, we're launching this education and training company in early 2016. We'll have lots of modules online and ways for you to engage to get you ready to apply next year.
To get to that $50,000 threshold. And is there a particular sector that you're concerned about?
We are wide open. We really just think so many things need to be redesigned and rebuilt, and we need a lot of innovation in almost every sector, so it's completely wide open. And here's where it's kind of fun. I mean, I have my bias of the kinds of companies I'm excited about, but we have 1,000 women deciding on who the 10 companies are. So all bets are off. Like, who knows what we're going to pick. But it'll come down to, who do we feel most passionate about that we can most help to grow?
Well, I applaud you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
I wish you the greatest of success, and
Thanks.
I hope that your vision of taking this worldwide manifests itself.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Cheers.